Hello, everyone. I am Sean C. Harrison, Jamaican singer, songwriter, poet, and general writer who is from the parish of St. Thomas in the eastern end of this island. And at this point, I come to you with a testimony from my book, The Word of My Testimony, that I have published on the Amazon platform. This book actually contains a number of miraculous happenings that I've given account of where God has worked in my life and has, definitely shown himself mighty. Now, this book is actually selling for a little above 30 US dollars, but I know it will be a very good buy for anyone who is seeking, a reason to go on, a reason to believe that God is who he says he is, a reason to believe that God still works miracles, a reason to believe that God is still involved in the affairs of men, a reason to believe that you are loved by him. I am with my friend Miss Dainty Flynn, one who has faced much adversity. I am reading really for her, but in this moment, I am also giving a sample of the testimonies from this book. And I do hope that you will get your copy, on Amazon very soon. Now, this extract is is from the testimony, "A Love Stronger Than Suicide." And this actually is my account of when the Lord actually spared my life after having, attempted suicide once. As a paranoid schizophrenic, I have had to deal with suicide, what they call suicidal ideation, a number of times throughout my journey because it is actually a feature of the illness where the mentally ill, oftentimes are driven by these thoughts, which is no fault of their own. There is so much torment that comes with mental illness, especially paranoid schizophrenia, the guilt of the past, the fear of the present and the future, you know, the delusions where you have false beliefs, fixed false beliefs. They are, all a feature of this very debilitating and cruel illness. So I hope that you will enjoy and that you will get your copies soon. Miss Flynn also has a son who is afflicted in the very same way that I am. And her love for him, her dedication to him, her grace to him, her faith in God to turn him around is just something that by every mother should have, every person should have. How she loves him still, even in spite of the fact that he's not in his right mind. We pray for each other, and I pray for him sometimes. And I know that one day God is going to answer her earnest prayers. So here we go from the book, The Word of My Testimony, "A Love Stronger Than Suicide," my personal account of a very dark period in my life. Most times when we hear of suicide, we think about the person being weak in character and resolve, especially when they are adults. We wonder how they could have managed to do such a thing. We can't seem to entertain anything that would precipitate an action along that line being strong enough to drive us there. For me, as someone who was diagnosed with mental illness, the reality of the issue of suicide was even more pointed. It was funny that inside of all the years of stress and strain I encountered living virtually alone with paranoid schizophrenia in Jamaica, I never once attempted suicide. But well into my adult years, I would say around my mid 30s, in my mind, my situation was so bad: no job, no income, loss of friends and support base drove me to a place of despair I do not care to experience again. Because, yes, It precipitated my first and only attempt at suicide to date. I went to the pharmacy and bought over-the-counter pills that I thought would have ended my life in a painless way. At that time, I wouldn't say I was at the peak of my Christian experience. I wasn't attending my regular church, and everything seemed to be going south for me. The truth is, I used to contemplate it many times during my Christian walk, and it's so important for young people to know that even in the midst of a sea of seeming support and people, one can feel, as they say, loneliest in a crowd. My mind was so beleaguered with psychotic thoughts that I now identify it as raw grace that kept me. But when I was pushed over the edge, it became my experience swallowing all of 183 pills almost in one go, at least in one 6-hour period. I called someone, a good friend, the Reverend Remia Gordon, and told her of my intent. She was once my teacher in school. And though she tried to convince me to tell of my whereabouts so she could have sent the police to pick me up, to take me to the hospital, she never learned of where I was at the time, which was by the sea that is behind the Rudolph Elder Park in Morant Bay, St. Thomas, Jamaica. That is my parish where I live. Yes, me, a Christian, had attempted to end my life. It didn't work, and I am happy today the attempt was foiled by God Himself. His mercy kept me alive, and I thank Him immensely. But the question lingers, what if I were successful? I certainly wouldn't have been here today to tell someone that suicide is no way out. It takes more courage to live through your problems than to be through with your problems by taking your own life. All the emotions one could ever have envisioned, I have experienced in my life: grief, low self-esteem, anger, despair, depression, fear. And for someone out there, the experience may not have been or may not be much different from mine. I realized that God saw me as being of too much value to have ended my life. And I do believe He sees you now as being too valuable to try to end yours. So please, young friends and otherwise, if you knew, like I came to know, how greatly prized we are, you would live to prove the enemy wrong and put all your struggles, despair, depression, and your seeming sea of troubles into the hand of Jesus. You would leave them at the foot of the cross because, yes, though it may seem impossible, He has the answer to every care, and there is an end to every adverse situation. Today, I still don't have a job. I don't have the large support base I had before being in an organized church setting. I have little money to go on. I lost friends. Dear family members have died. I still struggle with mental illness. As a matter of fact, to date, it's 25 years now since the diagnosis of schizophrenia. But the difference is that I have learned to see Jehovah as bigger than all my adversities, and so should you. Adolescence and young adulthood can be pretty stormy times in our lives, but trust me, middle age and the senior years do have their share of loss and despairing moments. But the good thing is, one way or other, we serve the same big, good, merciful, compassionate God. Let Him handle your problems today. Give it all to Him, just as I am learning moment by moment to do. He can and He will take care of you. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. And that is only one of my accounts of God's workings in my life, in my book, The Word of My Testimony, which is being sold on the Amazon platform. And of course, it's print on demand. So when you make your order, it is shipped to you And most people by now know, most persons by now know how to handle online shopping. And you can also get my other 7 books that I have published, 6 collections of poetry, and one devotional that is entitled Sketches of Sunrise. You can find them all on the Amazon platform. And as I give more, these accounts of my life, I hope you will be blessed by this little big book, and that you will share the words that have been written there, and that will support the effort. I am just doing these things in order to spread the message of God's love, spread the message of hope to the world, and also to empower myself, and to reach out with whatever resources I garner to the fallen and the despairing, and those who are in need in my community. My phone number is 1-877-343-9783. That's 1-877-343-9783. My email address is antopher@gmail.com. That's ANTOPHER @gmail.com. That's ANTOPHER @gmail.com. So if you want to contact me for contributions and donations to my efforts and my little ministry to the world, you can do so via these mediums. And also, I have other works and poetic literary works, as well as musical works on websites all over the internet. Newspaper stories, interviews, videos of me singing, YouTube channel, videos of me reciting poetry, videos of nature, flora, and all the flora of the St. Thomas de Morin Bay community and surrounding areas, as well as other testimonies on my Facebook platform, as well as another Facebook page that is dedicated to my poetry of Sean C. Harrison. You look me up on the internet and you will see so many things that I know will edify and benefit you. Miss Flynn, Dainty? All right, she has fallen asleep. But it was a pleasure to have broadcast from this place. And, it's Sean C. Harrison again, over and out. I do hope you were blessed and that you will get your copy of the book. I'm sure it will bless you. Thank you. Yes, having finished reading that miraculous account of how God saved my life from suicide, being here sitting with my good friend and sister in Christ, Miss Dainty Flynn, I will allow her to say a few words as it concerns the testimony I have given for those out there whom themselves may be contemplating or have attempted suicide, at other times. This message, that suicide is no way out, is for you. And Miss Dainty Flynn will say a few words right now. This is Sean C. Harrison again speaking. Go ahead, Dainty.
Well, Sean, I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, I thank you so much for coming this morning and reading, because I've never read anything from that book before. I know about the book, but I've never read anything from it or heard
Speak a
about
little
it.
louder, yes.
And I am thankful that you decided to come and share one of your testimonies with me this morning. It's a very important topic. It's a topic that, let me tell you something, you know how many people have grappled with suicide
Indeed,
in
yes.
their lifetime. I mean, there are people who would think of it and shun the thought. There are people who would carry the thought for a while. And there are people who attempt so many times.
Yes, indeed.
But because we don't know, we don't know. And because we serve a good God who
Yes.
is there to help us pick up the pieces
Yes.
from time to time.
Yes.
But especially people who are suffering from mental illness. I have a son, as I said. And I can't tell how many times he has attempted suicide.
Yes.
But God has always been there to help me to catch up on him
Yes.
before it goes any further. And so we continue to pray for each other,
Yes.
especially about this topic. And I look forward to reading your book and reading some more of your testimonies.
Yes.
And I thank you for sharing it, not just with me,
Yes.
but with the rest of the world.
You are
right
most
now.
welcome. Yes.
So that so many people can get an understanding and know that, there are people, who are thinking they are the only person who think of this or think of that.
Yes.
There are so many people, and you'll be surprised to know that there are others out there who are going through the same thing you are going through.
Yes.
So thank you so much again for coming and sharing. And people, please go and get the book as much as you can.
The word of my
And
testimony.
so that it can help you and you can share with others on this topic and many other situations. So thanks again, Sean.
You're very welcome,
God
Dainty.
bless you in
Yes.
your endeavors.
Thank you. Thank you too. You're welcome. All right, so that's it, everybody. Get your copies of the book, The Word of My Testimony, as well as my 6 collections of poetry, as well as another book, which is a devotional. And I know your hearts will be immensely blessed. My contacts have been spoken of in this video. You can feel free to link me, to say how my work has helped you, for contributions and donations, and for information as to how to get the book, which basically is being sold online on the Amazon platform. Thank you so much again. Now, these are pictures of happier moments in time shared by Miss Dainty Flynn and her schizophrenic son, Andy. She's a tower of strength to him, as I said before. And I just wanted to celebrate the resilience of her mother and the love of her mother and the suffering of a human being who was and is very gifted and had shown and still shows so much promise. Even inside of his illness, he's able to fix things for persons and he's able to do so much. But the story is a very sad one. Nonetheless, we live in hope, as I have lived in hope and as others have lived in hope and, hoped and, wished for me, even when I went through a very dark period, 2013 to 2018, to get back on my feet. These are real human beings with real struggles. So, it is my pleasure to highlight these two persons. This is a story of love, deep and abiding love. A mother's love for her child can never be measured.